19th century. Let's just go through these, and I'll show you how they're careful to avoid informing the people about what the early brethren actually said. Here's during Joseph Smith's lifetime. I'll click on this one. Go through here. I won't take the time to go through every one of these because if someone's interested, you can ask me about it. Send me an email. There's good explanations for each one of these, but one of them I wanted to point out is the first one. It was a newspaper article from the missionaries, relating what the missionaries were telling people. The next is W.W. Phelps writing about it, and I could analyze that to show he's not really talking about where the Book of Mormon took place, but he's pointing out that there was sophisticated civilization pre-Columbian in the Americas. This American Revivalist is the first one we have that Joseph Smith actually wrote, and he points out here, look at this. He says the Book of Mormon is a record of the forefathers of our western tribes of Indians. That's where he sent the missionaries to the Lamanites. By it we learn that our western tribes of Indians are descendants from that Joseph that was sold into Egypt, and that the land of America is a promised land unto them. About as straightforward as you can get. It's the only one so far we've seen from Joseph Smith. Here's one from the Evening and Morning Star. The continent of America is a choice land above all others. Evening and Morning Star, again, this is Phelps's newspaper. And he went on to say that no people that have lived on this continent since the flood understood many of the arts and sciences better than the Jaredites and Nephites, which is quite interesting. He's referring to buildings in North Carolina, a stone artifact in Cincinnati. I was guided to this continent, again from the Evening and Morning Star. The Zelf story, I'm not going to take the time to go through that. We have a whole separate piece on that, as well as Joseph's letter to the Nephites. The main thing to notice here is, so far, this is going through 1834. We have a few different accounts, but there's only three from Joseph Smith. The American Revivalist, the Book of Mormon is a record of the forefathers of our western tribes of Indians. And then we have Zelf's account and the letter to Emma, both of which specifically put the Book of Mormon in North America. Gilbert's statement, again, Phelps. This one I want to point out because this is another technique that you'll see a lot in Fair Mormon and the other Mesoamerican materials. Here he quotes Oliver Cowdery from July of 1835. Those of you who know what I'm thinking of already know the significance of this, but I'm going to go through it. It says, a history of the inhabitants who people this continent previous to its being discovered to Europeans by Columbus must be interesting to every man, and as it would develop the important fact that the present race were descendants of Abraham. That's it. This is Oliver Cowdery to W.W. Phelps in the Messenger and Advocate. Those of you who are in the know realize that July 1835 was when Letter 7 was published in the Messenger and Advocate. Can you believe this? This is the only thing they put in here for Letter 7. Let's go back to this. I'll show you. The top of this page purports to be Book of Mormon Geography Statements, 19th century, in Joseph Smith's lifetime. This page is a chronology of statements from primary and secondary sources. And yet they get down here and they go to the extent of quoting from Letter 7, and they don't even tell you what the gist of Letter 7 is. I'll show you that in a minute, but let's focus on this first. What they're saying here is, you're not going to believe this, but he's trying to imply here that Oliver Cowdery was saying that the Book of Mormon did not take place in North America. And here's how they do it. It says, note that this continent, which is, again, it was quoted up here, this continent refers to both North and South America. Columbus never set foot in the present-day United States. He was confined to the Caribbean, South America, and Central America. I'm tempted to click on these maps. I might as well. Let's click on their map of America that he's referring to right here. And if you look at the map, this is Columbus's third voyage. Notice Columbus stopped Puerto Rico, and he stopped in the Virgin Islands, the American Virgin Islands. Both of these are part of the United States today. He came over here and stopped in Honduras, Panama, never stopped in Mesoamerica, never stopped in Mexico or Guatemala even, but he did stop in part of what is today's United States. So much for that argument. Anyway, going back to this. Let's see what he gives you the reference here, footnote 11. You click on that, Oliver Cowdery to W.W. Phelps in letter 7. Now we can click on this link. I'll go ahead and do it right now, make it another new window. And you go here to letter 7. You have to be very careful to cite letter 7 and come up with that little bit about what this continent means, and put that quotation in here, and to do that without even mentioning what Oliver Cowdery said about Hill Cumorah. I mean, it's right here. Look at this. These guys knew it was in here, they just obscured it from their readers. So here it is. Right here, the famous part of letter 7. This is where Oliver Cowdery and Joseph Smith specifically identify the Hill Cumorah in New York as being the one that was referred to in the Book of Mormon. Says he's talking about the road from Palmyra to Canandaigua up here. It's the Hill Cumorah that we all know today. About 1 mile west rises another ridge of less height. So if you're standing on top of the Hill Cumorah, you can look west. A mile away, you see another ridge running parallel with the former, the Hill Cumorah. It leaves a valley in between. And then he talks about when one reflects on the fact that here, between these hills, the entire power and national strength of both the Jaredites and the Nephites were destroyed. You can't get any more explicit than that. And yet, these guys at Fair Mormon don't tell you that. They quote this letter and they don't tell you this. That's what I'm talking about. You have to be really careful when you read what these guys put in here at Fair Mormon. My opinion is completely deceptive. So here we go. Here's their full extent, supposedly, of what Oliver Cowdery wrote about Book of Mormon geography. Okay. Scroll down here again. Here's Joseph Smith talking about the Indians. Phelps, William Smith. So again, you have there's no doubt William Smith said some things. I mean, after he was excommunicated, he really promoted the Mesoamerican theory. Times and Seasons, again, Joseph Smith. This one I've written about as well. I'll just mention it here quickly because they cite it all the time. This was a statement that he said this land of Zion consists of all of North and South America. Now, obviously that has nothing to do with where the Book of Mormon took place, but it was a statement written by, or recorded by Martha Corey, as it shows in the footnote here. Martha Corey wrote it, but when you go to the Joseph Smith papers and search for Martha Corey, you can search for those terms, you find out real quick that it was not a contemporaneous account. She wrote that many years after July of 1840, and she was the only one who even mentioned this sermon. Okay, Parley Pratt, Millennial Star. There's no doubt there's a lot of speculation about Book of Mormon geography, but none of this has to do with Cumorah, except that what they show here, without intending to, I guess, is even Orson Pratt, who talked extensively about the hemispheric model, emphasized that Hill Cumorah was in the state of New York, right here. He had the idea that the war commenced at the Isthmus of Darien and they battled all the way up to North America. But he emphasized that they encamped on and around about the Hill Cumorah, where the records were found, which is in the state of New York. So it's all pretty clear. We'll pick it up again later.